Hey everybody, welcome to today's show. Welcome to Disabled Reality. I'm your host, Anthony Lorito-Duke, and we have two great topics for today's show, in which the first one is too little change is no good, but neither is too much change. And the second topic is stop taking offense at everything. So let's get right into the first one. And actually, both of these topics are kind of intertwined, and I'll get to that in a minute. I'll show you why. Well, let's get right into the first one. Too little change is no good, but too much change is no good either. You gotta find the right median. As I was taught growing up, too little of anything is no good, but too much of anything is no good either. You gotta find the proper median. Everything has limits. And, um, like I've been fighting for equality for decades, okay? And, I'm all for equal marriage. I even fought for the bathroom bill. That to me, that was a good thing. Um, and I fought for a whole lot of other things, okay? But, um, in my opinion, people are taking things too far now. And what do I mean by that? Now people are taking offense at Dr. Seuss books and Mr. The Mr. Potato Head. You know what I'm saying? You know, um, with the Mr. Potato Head, they want to make it gender neutral. Really, you know, um, and with the Dr. Seuss books, there's six of them that were decided that's not going to be published. They're taking them away because a certain amount uh, of certain group of people, they found some things offensive about the books. First of all, I grew up, reading Dr. Seuss books, and I was also taught growing up that if you don't like what you're listening to, then don't listen to it. If you don't like what you're watching or looking at, then don't watch it or don't look at it. And don't take everything away from everybody else, meaning that, like with these books, okay, if these people found them offensive for whatever reason, okay, I can understand that. But don't turn around and say, well, because we don't like that, nobody else is going to be able to like that. And nobody else is going to be able to read these books because we don't like that. That is total bullshit. Okay? You don't like the book, fine. You don't want your kids reading it, fine. That's your prerogative. But don't take them away from everybody else. Don't buy the books for your damn kids. Don't let them read it. Go get something else. But don't take it away from somebody else because you're finding everything offensive. They're like looking to nitpick at things. You know, honestly, enough is enough. You know, and you don't like it, don't buy it. Leave it there. But don't say, well, because we don't like it, then nobody else is going to be able to buy it or like or whatever. Seriously. And because you got to have limits on everything, people. Honestly. Seriously. And there are people that would teach their kids, listen, when you're looking at a picture like this, and they explain it to their kids or whatever, seriously, these books could be a very good thing. But when they say no, because we don't like it, so nobody else is going to be able to like it. you know, and it's kind of like, uh, I forgot if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever. There were people that, that didn't like the Confederate flag on the General Lee, which is an iconic car from the Dukes of Hazzard, right? And that's fine. I understand exactly what these people are saying, and I understand why to them it's offensive. Okay, and but these people are saying, well, that was part of the Confederate flag was racism, so take away the whole show. Nobody else is allowed to watch it. That's it. It's only about what we like. Um, no, no, that is an iconic car. Okay, the Dukes of Hazzard is an iconic show. Okay, and I grew up watching it. I'm not racist. Many people that I grew up with, we watch these shows and they're not racist. Okay, and um, now for people to just say take away the show altogether because we don't like it for our reasons, and I understand that. But again, it goes back to what I was just talking about with the Dr. Seuss books. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Plain and simple. But don't say, well, nobody else is allowed to like it because we don't like it. No, that's not fair. And here's the other thing. For anybody that ever watched the show The Dukes of Hazzard, okay, clearly seen that show in no way, shape, or form is racist or biased. Okay? And as a matter of fact, even in the theme song of the show, okay, if the people listen to the words of the theme song, they were like the original quote unquote Antifa because in the lyrics itself of the song itself, it says just two good old boys, never meaning no harm, beats all been in trouble with the law since the day they were born. Okay? Seriously. These uh these words, if you listen to them, they even prove it's like the original quote unquote Antifa or whatever. And uh the show is about fighting for what's right. Okay? And the Dupers were taught growing up that if you see something you know is wrong, step in and help make it right. Okay? So for people who truly watch the show, they know that. So to say, well, we find this offensive, and that's if you're finding something offensive, you have your reasons, then that's fine. You're entitled to that. And it's understandable. Okay? Um, but don't take it away from everybody else because you didn't even know what the show was truly about. Okay? And because if you knew what the show was truly about, if you actually watched the show, you see that there's nothing racist about the show, that it's actually fighting for equality, it's fighting for the right reasons and stuff like that. So, you know, seriously. And since we're on this topic, you know, with these people that want to take away, all these things and whatever. If you want to take away an iconic show like the Dukes of Hazzard because you're feeling that it's racist or whatever, because of the Confederate flag on top of the General Lee car, like I said, okay, you're entitled to that feeling, and I understand that. But then let's look at it from the other side of the coin. Okay, What about if a certain amount of people want to take away an iconic show like Sanford and Son, you know, uh, or the Jeffersons, uh, What's Happening, you know, Good Times, or uh, and so on. The list can go on and on. Now, all these shows that I mentioned are iconic shows, and I grew up watching all these shows that I mentioned. Okay, so just like people could uh, pick out their complaints and want to fight to take away certain iconic shows, well, you know what? On the other side of that same coin, other people can do the same thing and say, you know what? Well, I don't like uh, this show that you guys like. So that, because I find it offensive, I find it racist, or whatever. You know, should we take away all the iconic shows? You know, would that be the right way of doing things? Because a certain group of people don't like a certain thing or whatever, even though it's maybe understandable and whatever. But again, it goes back to what I was originally saying of if you don't like what you're watching, then don't watch it. If you don't like what you're listening to, then don't listen to it. But don't turn around and say, well, because we don't like it, then nobody else is allowed to like it, and we have to take away everything that we don't like, or whatever. Is that the right way of doing things? No. Whatever happened to if you don't like what you're watching, don't watch it. If you don't like what you're looking at, don't look at it. Keep moving along. Seriously. Now, but now like with the Mr. Potato Head, people want to change it uh um uh to in a way to be gender neutral. You know, I understand things do change, and I understand that when companies want to improve their products, okay, but why are you really changing it to just satisfy a certain group of people that are not contented with the original versions? If that's the case, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So, but anyways, to me, if they want to say everything is to be gender neutral, not gender neutral, really, if you consider yourself male, fine, then deal with the Mr. Potato Head. If you consider yourself femme or female or whatever, fine, then get the Mrs. Potato Head. Or, or have one big package of both of these items, or all the items if you include the baby potato head, and have everything in like one big box and let people do whatever. But just say everything's got to be gender neutral. There's limits to everything. I can understand the bathroom bill. Okay. But even with that, there's a limit. Okay. Even with um uh teaching LGBT issues, there's a limit to that in which I feel that any child that's like in kindergarten or first grade through eighth grade, leave them alone. Leave them alone. They don't need to be taught about LGBT issues. Keep them out of it. Now, if you want to start teaching like kids about LGBT issues, if these kids are in high school, then that I could understand because high school is to be teaching kids for the real world. Okay, their minds are more adaptable. Their minds are more expanded, and so high school and into college or whatever, then that I can understand. But kids in kindergarten and first grade through eighth grade, leave them the fuck alone. They don't need to hear anything or whatever. They don't need to be taught anything about the LGBT issues. Leave them alone. Honestly, there's limits to everything, but people are taking things to an extraordinary level that it doesn't need to be. They're getting out of hand with it. There's limits to everything, ladies and gentlemen. Boundary lines, rules and regulations. Honestly. So, I mean, it gets out of hand, and that's not what people who fight for equal rights wanted, really. To take things to be out of control and stuff like that. And no, seriously, people need to smarten up. People need to start to use their brains. Now let's get also into the second topic, which is again kind of tying into the first topic. Stop taking offense at everything. And that's what people are doing today. I take offense at this. I take offense at that. I take offense at this. I take offense at that. They complain and complain and complain and complain about everything. Stop it. Stop it. If I don't like this, nobody's allowed to like that. I take offense at it. I'm going to find something wrong about it. I'm going to complain about it. Stop it. Enough. Enough is enough. Oh, I'm finding something wrong about the Dr. Seuss books. So I'm going to complain about it. And if I don't like it, then nobody's allowed to like it. If I don't like a certain person, nobody's allowed to like that person. If I don't like a certain place, nobody's allowed to like that place. Stop it. Stop it. You know, let's change everything. Honestly, enough is enough. People have to learn to start to use their brain. Know the limits, the boundary lines, the rules and regulations, really. And I understand that things over time do change. I understand that. And when people want change, they want to say, well, you know, people are evolving, people are learning differently, and I understand all that. But the way that they're going about things is completely wrong. To say, well, everything has to be gender neutral, everything, because that's the way that we like it. We don't like certain things, so we're gonna only have it our way. What we like. Seriously, honestly, and the Mr. Potato Head. I grew up with that toy. So many people have grown up with it, and even with the Mrs. Potato Head. And to say everything's got to be gender neutral, leave the fucking thing alone. Stop it. Again, if you identify yourself as male, okay, and that's fine, then deal with the Mr. Potato Head. If you identify yourself as female or whatever, and that's fine, then get the Mrs. Potato Head or uh um again, the company could have the whole thing in one big package, even. But enough with this. Everything has to change our way. Enough. And to take away Dr. Seuss books because you don't like it for whatever reason and whatever. Listen, I grew up with these books, and again, if you don't like it, don't read it. If you're finding it offensive and you don't want your kids to read it, and that's your choice, fine. But don't say, well, then nobody can like it. And nobody's going to be able to buy it because we don't like it. Enough. Enough. Enough with the stupidity and the nonsense. There's limits to everything. And people have to respect those limits. So now, um, I want to remind everybody that after I'm done hosting this episode, I will host another episode of my show, Advocate Information Highway, on YouTube, and we're going to continue this discussion there. And don't forget to go to my business, my website, which is African Information Highway. The link to there is awldny.com. And so with that, take care, everybody. Bye.